When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain.
And our topic for today is how to not worry, or how to stop worrying.
Yes, I am super excited about this.
This is actually kind of a funny way for us to talk about a topic, because it's like in the negative. How to stop doing this, which probably is going to be our first point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is funny because we normally wouldn't title something like how to stop worrying, but I get this a lot, and it's natural and it's human. And so it just feels important to be able to handle this, because I don't think you ever stop doing this. You just learn how to shift quicker and move away from the worry.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
it's somewhat human nature.
Mm-hmm. What are you excited about, Cass?
Oh man, I'm excited about inspiration, and I'm excited about this new product, new download that I'm creating, which will become a book. But it's entrepreneurial money stories. Because when you're an entrepreneur and you have this new opportunity to make money, and maybe you start making a lot of it, or maybe you leave a place where you are making a lot of money and you go to making a little money, these stories come out and they affect your business. They affect the way you behave and the way you think and just the way you respond without being conscious in your business into making money. And the best part about this is that I've wanted to write this book for a while, ever since I did Change Your Money Story with sort of non-entrepreneurs. It applies to entrepreneurs, but this is more specific. And I just love, because it was inspiration. Like, I've wanted to do it. I've had ideas. I've been sort of collecting, oh yeah, that's what that story does. That's a great example, this and that. And then last week, I got this opportunity to speak at a summit, and I was like, oh, I'm going to create that. And so I've just been in creation mode, and it's so fun because I love when there's a reason and a place for inspiration to go. It's super fun when you do something and you're like, this is going to be awesome. But I love when that thing shows up, that reason, to just sort of spur that inspiration on.
I want to just take a second here and talk about this just briefly, because of the example of how inspiration can work both ways. So you can have an idea and it feels inspired and you're doing something. So Cassie could have got the idea about the book, creating it, putting it together, not knowing. So this is the other half of it, not knowing why or what it's for, just that it feels good. Or it can also work the way that it did, was like the opportunity showed up, the place it's going to go, the reason why, and then the inspiration came to create it and make it and kind of fill that space. So I just love that example of how inspiration works both ways.
Oh, me too. It's so fun. And I want to share this part of the story too, because I think it's really fun, is a couple weeks ago or sometime recently, I had this thought, and I'm like, I really want to just do something that speaks more directly to entrepreneurs. And I want to speak more to people who are making over 100,000, or they're trying to go for 1 million, they're working their way to 1 million. And it was really fun because that's what works into this book. And so I'd had that thought, just open that space. And it's just such a great example, both of how inspiration works both ways, but how it's not one thing. Like, you're constantly creating inspiration, and it shows up when it's time.
Yes. And I would almost say you're constantly receiving the inspiration, like aligning up with that inspiration, because you had to be in that place to catch the, like, hey, I want to speak more directly to entrepreneurs. It was almost like it was already in motion. And it's unfolding, and you're like, yes. And all you do is say, yes, yes. Oh, here we go. Yes.
Yes. I love it. What are you excited about?
One of the things I feel excited about right now is my new green cleaning supplies.
Yay!
So a while ago, like it was probably a year ago, I started getting doTERRA oils, and it was a big thing. You know, part of my future life is that's who I am. I have these oils and I have a clean household, you know, non-toxic elements in my household and all these things. And so that was really exciting for me. And this feels almost like another, even though it's a year later, another step of feeling the inspiration towards, hey, it's so easy. I can make my own cleaning supplies. And I like got the glass bottles, and I like watched a little webinar, and it was by one of my friends, and it was just a lot of fun. And so I'm excited about having that element of that piece of my life kind of falling in place so nicely.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did want to, I kind of cut you off at the beginning when you started to talk about how worrying is natural for us. And that's actually kind of where I want to jump back into, because let's talk about why that actually is, why we do worry. Like, why is that okay, and why is it natural?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think it's because we have things we care about. Mm-hmm. You know, if you care about a person, you care about, you know, your business, you care about your life, your house, your kids, you want all of those things to thrive in whatever way that means, right? Even your house, like I love you just gave that example. Like you want your house to thrive, and that's why you're using natural cleaning products. Because you care, because you love it, because you have a vision. And we all experience in life things that happen. I truly, for me, I believe that, you know, some things were predetermined, and we don't get a choice, and we didn't create them. So sometimes that's things happening to people that we love. It's, you know, different experiences, and sometimes that looks like really wanting something and not getting it. And so so those type of things then contribute to this space of, you know, I might not get it, or something might happen. And so when you take, you know, we really love something, and all these things that are part of life, is I do believe we create our experiences, we create what we want next, but we don't have control of some of the things in life. Like they are things, you know, then we can start to worry. You know, so if we've had an experience where someone gets hurt and we love someone and something, you know, again, then there's the fear of the unknown, right? So when we don't know, our brains don't like when we don't know what's going to happen. So when something new is happening, good or bad, can create this worry that, you know, this might change, this might not work out, this person might get hurt, this, that, right? Because it's unknown. And so those are just the reasons that I believe this is really natural. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do is, as soon as we catch a worry, is to acknowledge, oh, if I didn't care about the outcome of this, if I didn't care about this person, I wouldn't have the worry, right? And so
Yes.
your worry always comes ultimately at the depth of it comes from a place of caring and love. And so knowing that really helps ground us in the more beneficial part of our thoughts about it, in the knowing that, hey, I care, like that's a completely different focus. I'm worried about this outcome versus I care about this outcome. So even starting there,
oh my gosh,
yeah, helps set us up to move to align with the outcome that we want more and easier and quicker.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's a really natural thing. I think there's a lot of when we're surrounded by a world that isn't deliberately choosing their focus, its conditions can very easily draw you into the fearful part of it, which creates the worry. And then, you know, we've often spent decades just observing our life and gathering experiences that create worry within us because we haven't been choosing. And so then all of that's in you. Like so many of us, when we're coming into this way of being and choosing and living on purpose, we don't start it right away. And so we have some conditioning that feel like we've gained experiences that give us I'm holding up quotes, evidence of why we like justify why we should worry, right? So we don't walk into life saying, I know everything works out for me. I trust the unfolding. I'm a aligned being, you know. So I think that's why it's natural. That's where it all comes from.
Yeah. And I love that you pointed out, you know, we're also live in a world that isn't 100% conscious, isn't 100% living on purpose. And that's important.
100%. Yeah. Even I won't even go there.
And so, you know, I also want to throw this out there because I have had this with my clients that, you know, sometimes even people are taught to worry means you care. There's this
yes,
generational or family thing that, oh, if you care about someone, you you almost go overboard with the worry. Like it's your responsibility to worry. And that is a way that you express love.
Yeah. Worry, I've heard that many times before. Worry equals love.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to. And if you realize like, oh, that's my family story, this is the day you get to choose a different story. And you get to start the new pattern and the new situation about how, you know, worry means I care. And when I care, I get to focus on the outcome I want and would be amazing.
I would love to present too that speaking in emotional vibrational terms, when worry and love are completely different vibrations. So even when you acknowledge, hey, my intention is to love and I've been practicing it through worry. Okay, but those are different vibrations. What do I want to be communicating to the universe? What do I want to create more of? When I'm in worry, I'm adding to the problem. When I'm in love, I'm adding to the solution and to the outcome I want. And so even just that awareness puts you into your power. So knowing, okay, I've been worrying, thinking that I'm communicating love, assuming that I'm communicating love, but I'm not. So how can I kind of stand in my power more? How can I actually get what I want out of this situation?
Yes.
Now, stopping worrying. So tell me if this resonates with you. Is sometimes worry feels uncontrollable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a
lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure. And I think a lot of listeners have had that. Like it feels like I can't control. I am worried about this. Mm-hmm. And so like, what would your first, if you feel in that space, what would you?
Okay, well, maybe not when you're in the space, but I just want to highlight it is controllable. It's just possibly not in that moment, but mm-hmm. you do have power over how much you worry. You can 100% get yourself to the place where you rarely worry. But it takes practice, and you don't do it in the moment that you can't find your son or your kitten.
Yeah.
I'll only say kitten because we just lost Percy for another 3 days, whatever.
Oh my goodness.
I know. But he showed up again, so it's all good.
Oh my gosh. So this is completely off topic, but it's inspired. We are creating something amazing for you guys that is going to have some bonus ways of connecting with us. And 100%, one of those is going to be like stories of learning and growing with Jenny's cat.
You know, he's truly being my teacher. I know he's preparing me to be a parent.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so coming back to that though, like yes. Just when you're in the moment, like when the event is happening and the emotion of worry is intense, that's not the time to try to not worry. That's the time to like ease it. You can still ease it, but it's not the time to say worry is bad. I shouldn't be worrying. Yeah.
I love that you highlight, because I was like, well, we can change it a little bit and we can open it up. But what you're saying is it's not the time to judge it.
Yes.
Or fuel, like, go into this panic within yourself about how you shouldn't be worrying, and like then you're just like creating this storm of worry and judgment. And I wanted to just back up 1 second, because you mentioned control worry, like you can control it. And I would even add, for me, if I was like when I'm working with a client, I would put it to like you can bring it to a choice. Versus trying to control it. Because I think very often when something is in the heat of the moment and feels out of control, trying to control it, from my experience, feels very like you're just wrestling. Yeah, you're efforting, you're wrestling, you're pushing against it, which is creating more of it. And so if we can come to this place of worry can be a series of choices, or I can use a series of choices to shift from worry to what I want.
Beautiful. I love that. Even when you are, so coming back to the title of our episode, like stop worrying, there's even resistance in that, like we talked about. So if you catch yourself worrying and then you're like, oh, I have to change, like this is wrong, or there's any resistance in that, you're pushing against right away. So instead coming to this place of like, oh, I'm worrying, I have choices here. Like imagine that. Imagine if you catch worry and you're like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to choose. You immediately put yourself in a place of power.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Oh, and I will. Hopefully, this must be for some listener, because I'm going to insert it here. But I have been in real experiences where, so very often, worry is not real. Like we are not, right? There is no immediate danger. It's the worry that danger might come.
Would you say, Cass, that that's probably like an absolute statement, that worry is actually not real and completely made in our head?
So listen to what I have to say, and then I'll come back to this, because what I wanted to say is that most of the time it is. But there have been 2 specific times in my life where I have felt in my gut that it was not okay. Like it was the absolute truth.
Yes.
To be worried that I was right. Like it was confirmed. I remember just, someone being in the hospital and fighting for their life and everything being fine. And then that wave of, it's not okay anymore, which like when we got back to the hospital was the moment they rushed into emergency surgery. And so most of the time it is us creating something in the future, but it can, I think, be, and maybe you would label something different, I'm curious to hear, but that worry, and I was like, I am worried, like it is not okay. It was a certainty.
I would probably label that completely different. Like I do think worry is the false stories we're telling about the future, but it sounds like what you experienced was a gut reaction of what was happening in that moment. And it was less of a thought about what was happening, more of a like knowing. Yeah. I love that you could I knew I wanted to share that. So that clarity is important, right? Say what you said about how you define worry again, because I think that's important. So when you think you're worrying, how I would define it is it's a thought about the future that literally you're making up because we don't know the future. So, yeah.
And you said false, right? Like, it's a thought. And so even though, even if you want to go into like time, time is not linear and we're right next to that moment, it's also, we could take it to a point of like, we're choosing a higher probability versus like there's, if we're not at the future yet, there are all these possibilities and probabilities on the table. And it's putting our focus on the one that we might not want out of fear.
This is like what creating on purpose is about. What
Yeah.
thoughts you're having about what's going to happen is giving focus and energy to it and increasing the probability that it will occur for you.
Yeah, which is why our listeners probably picked this episode, because they're like, I know I don't want to create what I'm worried about. So do we want to move into sort of what do you do when you find yourself in worry?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So my first step is always to tap back into the feelings, because when we feel more, instead of like when we're thinking and talking, we're creating more, and we're not feeling. Even when we are clear that we're worried, but we're sort of talking about it, and we're talking about how afraid we are and why we should be worried and all of these things. We're in that headspace. We're not in the space to feel. And you have to feel, you have to be in touch with the feeling, I believe, to get to the point of choice.
I love it. And I want to just say that exact same thing in a different way.
Love it.
You take your attention from the future into the present, because
Ooh, yes.
you can only feel in the present. So when we're worried, we're in the future. When we're feeling, we're in the present.
Yes. Ooh, I love this. Because my next step is then going to be to so you feel I'm going to cut that off because I want to do this step first. So I would say you feel the worry, you get really present with the worry, which means you stop the chatter about it. And be in the present and feel that.
Okay, wait. You choose to stop the chatter. I think that is sometimes the hardest thing for people.
Yes.
That's the part that feels uncontrollable, but you can choose that. You can choose it. You're not going to get it perfect the first time. It's not going to just turn off after one choice. You just have to keep choosing it.
Yes, and it is okay.
Yeah.
Does not mean you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean you're not getting it. If you have to choose the choices that we're talking about over and over again, and you have to do this process over and over again.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the bigger things in life. And that's, I don't want to go there yet. Okay, keep going.
Okay. So, so we're in touch with our feelings. We're choosing to stop the chatter, right? So we can really feel. Mm-hmm. We get in touch with that feeling. This is one I don't necessarily know that you have to feel all the way through. Mm-hmm. Whereas most emotions, I would say, we feel through the worry. So you feel through them whenever they come up. And then you choose, what is it you want? What's that future place that you do want to create?
Yeah. I'm wondering, so do you think worry isn't an emotion? Is it? I think anxiety might be the emotion that goes with worry. How would you talk about that, Cass?
I would have said worry was an emotion before we started this conversation. Now
Okay.
Now I'm not so sure. That's what I will say going forward. Yeah. It feels like it, but it's this state of being with a bunch of things. And if we really looked at it, and this will probably come to me clear in the next couple of days after having this conversation, but I think it is the combo of the thoughts and the being afraid. Yeah. So if we can bring it out of the thoughts, if we can make the choice to stop the thoughts, and we can ask ourselves, what am I scared of? Or what am I afraid of? What is my biggest fear in this situation? And get honest about that, because very often that chatter is a loop that is not saying the real thing that you're afraid of.
Yes. I love that question.
Yeah.
What are you actually scared of here? Because as soon as you bring it into light, the second part of that being letting it be okay, right? So bringing it into the light is more like bringing it to presence, letting yourself feel that fear. So that's likely the thing that you need to actually feel and process before you can make the choice to move on to what's next, to move on to the experience that you do want to have.
Yes. So once you can feel that fear, whether that fear is someone is going to be in danger, someone is going to die, my cat's never coming home. When you can get to that fear, then you can feel the fear, and you can let that emotion run through you so that you can choose what you want to create. What's the vision you want to hold?
Yeah. What's really coming up for me, so when my mom was going through cancer, I worked through this a lot. And that's the thing I would come to is like, I might be worried about an appointment that's coming up. What's it going to be? What are they going to say? What does that mean? All these things. And then I would be like, stop. What are you really scared of? Okay, well, I'm scared of losing my mom. Okay, feel that. And that fear doesn't all process in 1 second, like, but a little bit will. And then so as soon as you feel that little bit, then my go-to, and I don't know how you do this, Cass, but I always go to, well, what do you know for sure? And I would go back to things that are true for me that feel good. So I know my love for my mom. I know she is strong and healthy. I know she's guided. I know things work out for us. And even in that little moments there of switch of focus, I get back grounded in my truth, in what's real for me. And that's like stopping the worry thought and coming back into the solution thoughts and focus.
Yeah. So I do it a little bit different. Like, yeah. I would, if I get in touch with it, I'd really feel through like the whole feeling.
Yeah.
I would go through all of it. And then from that point, for me, what opens up is like, now I can choose. Okay, now what I want. It's almost innate. It's like, when I feel through the feeling completely, and I let myself, like, whether that is like stopping in that moment and crying and letting that fear flow through me fully, then it is almost, and I don't know if it's from practice or if this is just a thing, but then it's okay, once that fear has gone through and I've felt it all, what do you want? What do you want to create?
And I just want to highlight in there, is there a part where you can sense, this isn't an intellectual thing, you feel some sort of space created after you've processed that fear?
Yes.
Yes. And that's when you know to move forward.
Yes.
So then what would you ask yourself?
Then I ask, what do I want? And, sometimes what we want might surprise you. Like, it might, sometimes it's obvious, like, I want this person to be healthy. Great. And then I ask, okay, what's the vision of that? And if the vision is them like walking next to me, or the vision of them is, skipping around, whatever it is, or if it's just like holding your cat, right? Jumping across my lap. Okay, that is what I want, and that's where I want to put my energy. And that's where I'm going to consciously choose to put my energy. And if it comes up again, if I get in this worry cycle or a spin, I'm just going to feel it, and then I'm going to return to that image.
I love it. I love this, and I want to highlight that, and tell me if you agree, Cass, you might go through this process or this cycle many times, maybe in a row, maybe in a few days, and that's okay.
Yes, 100%. I agree.
I think sometimes... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's likely. Not you might. It's very, very, very likely.
Yes. And I think if ever you've thought to yourself, I can't get a hold on this worry, or it seems uncontrollable, it's only that the consistency in your willingness to practice the process. Yeah, that you're not doing it wrong, or it's not that you can't do it. It's just that you haven't done it enough yet. That's it.
Yeah.
Because that process will shift you. And obviously the smaller things, it takes less, and the bigger things, it takes more, just because there's more energy involved and invested in all those things.
Yeah. But just to reaffirm Jenny's point, it's to keep going through the process. It's to stay out of any judgment, stay out of any worry about your worry that you're creating more of it. and go through the process of choosing.
Yeah, that's actually a really great one. Is sometimes it's like I'm worried that I'm not feeling good and I'm gonna mess things up.
Yes,
but
which creates more worry.
Yes, yeah. All right, so how do we want to kind of wrap up and summarize this?
That worry is very natural, and it's the choices you make when you recognize you're worried that create what you want. It's choosing that.
And I'll just add, you have all the power when you're worried. Nothing's going wrong.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Go be awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.